Hello again, everyone. Thanks again for joining me today in this Q&A session with the Broadway star. My name is Zagorii, and I'm an expert in technical theater and filmmaking. I'm also a Broadway and theater blogger. In the course of this interview, I would like to ask all of you to write in the comments as many questions as you want me to ask Tamar, and all of them, or I can assure you, some of them will be definitely answered at the end. Today, I have decided to invite a special guest, an amazing actor from Broadway and just incredible person to talk to, Tamar Greene. So he will join us in a second. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Tamar Greene, extremely unique, passionate, hardworking, and in my opinion, just very interesting person to talk to. Tamar is currently playing the role of George Washington in the Broadway company of Hamilton. Thank you again for your time today, and let's start with our first question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Good to be here.
All right. So which moment in your life has impacted your choice towards choosing a career in the performing arts industry? Did you have any particular moment or period in life?
I grew up actually in music. My mom played piano and she also sang a bit, but I wasn't a singer growing up. I was a pianist first. And my dad also is a DJ. My dad is Jamaican. My mom was born in England, but she's British Jamaican. So they're both Jamaican background, and music was a big part of our family. So I played piano for a long time, and I still play piano, obviously. There's a piano right next to me. And that was my beginning to knowing I wanted to do something in music, something I wanted to be a concert pianist. I love classical piano, Beethoven, Chopin, Rachmaninoff. Those are some of my favorite pianists, and that got me into the music.
Great. So when you were growing up, did you have any particular role model or an idol that you were following and stuff?
I didn't know, honestly, growing up, I didn't know much about theater. When I was a kid, I didn't love musical theater. I was always confused about why people would always singing when they could just say, I love you or something, So growing up, one of my models was Luther Vandross. I love Luther Vandross. He's one of the reasons why I started to sing more. I went to college or high school. That's when I really started to sing a bit more. So I went the pop music route for discovering mine.
Is he still your role model at the moment, or did it change over time?
Luther, he passed away a couple years ago, but he's definitely continued to be an iconic voice that I try to model all the time. Okay. Also in theater, I would say Chuck Cooper. Chuck Cooper was a musical theater guy that I definitely looked up to. Or Brian Stokes Mitchell. That's another big one from Ragtime. His Coal House, Walker Jr. was life-changing when I discovered that. Yeah,
that's great. All right. So you have also a BA in Computer Information Systems at the New York State University. So why did you decide to get a degree in computer information? What's the thing?
That's a good question. So I started music. Music is what I did growing up. Like I was just saying, I was a pianist from 5 years old, 6 years old. But I also had an interest in technology. I didn't know exactly what that, meant, but my dad was an entrepreneur. So he owned a shop, store selling some Jamaican products or maybe reggae music and things like that in the shop. And so I was always there around that music, but he also sold technology things. He sold cell phones and pages and stuff like that. He sold a lot of things in this place. And I gravitated to figuring out how do these things work? I wanted to program a cell phone. This is the beginning of T-Mobile, actually, before T-Mobile was bigger. I was programming cell phones. So that's I do like computer things. I had a legitimate interest in that. And so after high school, I went to School of the Arts. So it's an arts high school, and I did music that whole time. And so after that, I was I think I want to pursue this other side of me because I don't know what a life in the arts means. I don't know if there is an actual career for that. I don't know if you can make money in it. So I decided to step away from it to try to go and do a computer degree. So I went forward in that.
Yeah, great. So talking about the art and actually your performance life, what was your first professional theatrical performance? So on stage, but professional.
It was Little Shop. I believe that was the first one. Little Shop of Horrors.
Was it stressful for you? Were you nervous?
I was definitely a little nervous, but the unique thing about Little Shop of Horrors is that at this point, I was already had like opera things. I was already singing. Mm-hmm. I have my master's degree in opera, classical music.
Yeah.
And so I did a bunch of that stuff. So I've been on stages and stuff at this point. This is my first professional like theater thing. But the unique thing about this was that I was playing the voice of Audrey too, the plant. So I was backstage doing the voice, so I didn't really have to be too nervous. And I did come out for little things that character does come on stage for little things, group scenes and stuff. But the first time actually on stage, it was, I'm nervous. I get nervous today. Like it's nervous all the time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right. So the next one up is, I know that you have done quite a few touring productions. So you were on the tour of the Gershwins, Porgy and Bess, and now you're in the Hamilton Company, which is based on Broadway. So what do you prefer more, touring around the country or being settled in one place like you're at the moment?
I would say that I do prefer the being settled. I do prefer being settled. I do also, though, love touring. I gained so much knowledge of the country, of the world. I've been all over the place. And I did After Midnight, was on a cruise ship that started in Germany. And I went to England and all the stuff like that. So I love traveling and exploring the world, especially this country, which I live in. Like there's some states that we don't often go to when you're in the far East Coast or far West Coast. Sometimes we don't go to the middle states. So being on tour allowed me a chance to go visit like, Iowa or whatever it might be in the middle of the country. That's so I really enjoyed that, exploring all the food and culture around the country. But at the end of the day, being able to like settle down here, like I bought a house, I'm here, and just commute to the city to go to work is definitely most ideal.
Okay, yeah, great. So I know that you have done a lot of operas, as you mentioned in the interview previously, like Beauty and the Beast, and like you've done a lot of operas as well. So what is your favorite style of performing arts? Like, what is the one that you prefer to do the most?
I spent a lot of my singing career just trying to figure out what I love the most. I will say that I really, as well as the touring, the reason why I love touring, I love exploring the world and all that stuff, but I also love, in general, I love knowledge. I love learning. But specifically, I love languages. I love to study languages. I really love Italian. I'm an Italianate singer. So I love Italian. I love singing in German as well. I love the beauty of French. French doesn't love me so much. But I do love French. I did a little, I did Russian diction. I don't speak Russian by any means, but I did take a Russian diction course, and there's a lot of Russian songs that work really well in my instrument. And so those are reasons why I love classical music. I love performing and using the fullness of my instrument. But I do love acting more in musical theater. Like that's the only time I was able to really connect with a character fully and wholly and put that character first. That's why I would probably say, it's hard, but I would say musical theater for sure, because I'm able to really, really connect first there and then use the voice second.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough. So the next few questions will be about your life at Hamilton. So performing on Broadway is something that most theater actors dream of, probably all of their lives. Is there anything special for you about being a Broadway actor? Is there anything like unique about Broadway that nowhere else has it?
Yeah, the community. The theater community in general is always loving and supportive of each other. The Broadway specific community is such a tight-knit family that I just love so much. Everyone knows each other, again, in theater in general, but like on Broadway, everyone's settled. at home. Everyone has their families, had people who were on maternity leave. We had 3 people at one time, all about to have babies in the Broadway culture. You know, it's those kind of things that you don't, that homeliness that you don't really get in other companies. Even I started a Hamilton experience in Chicago. I did a Chicago company, so even like that one was similar, but not quite the same because none of us were from Chicago. You know, I'm from New York. But people made a home there. Miguel Cervantes by Hamilton, both in Chicago and on Broadway. And he went to Chicago and really made a home there. He brought his wife and he had 2 kids there, you know, and really made a home there. But the Broadway community specifically, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, tight-knit family. And and I love it. But in many ways, though, I mean, as I speak for all the people who have not had a chance to be on Broadway yet, like there's a lot of similarities. You know, sometimes I'll go on stage and I'm like, oh, this could be the Chicago company of Hamilton. Like this is the same, you know. Except the clout is different. But yeah.
So you're currently playing the character that is singing in different styles, like rap, hip hop and stuff, and also does a lot of dancing as George Washington. So what did you change from the original character that you were given by the script to make it feel more comfortable for you and more like easier to perform? Did you change anything or did you make any improvements from your personal side?
Did I make any improvements from my personal side? I'll say that doing this role has been, this is one of the greatest roles. The journey of learning this character is something I haven't had before. We had 7 weeks to rehearse it. I had 7 weeks that came as a replacement. I had 7 weeks to rehearse this and really get deep into this character and study the history of both George Washington and George Washington, how it pertains to this Ron Chanel, you know, Lin-Manuel story. And so I really was able to dig into this, and it changed me to be able to connect with this character and with this historical figure as well. So that definitely changed me. And now with the craft, the voices, you learn, and doing a show so many times, you really learn how to navigate your instrument very well. And that's something that forever changed me every day. Like every day I had another chance to try to make yesterday better, you know, make today better than yesterday, rather. So like those things definitely changed me. How am I going to sing this today? I learned quickly that I used to love, my favorite song used to be Your Right Hand Man. But then I realized doing it is actually a lot harder than singing in like the car, you know? So I realized like, okay, I can't give 100% on Right Hand Man because I'll have nothing for History Has Its Eyes on You, much less One Last Time later on, you know? So yeah, all those things just made me a smarter performer and actor and singer.
All right, great. So speaking about the COVID-19 lockdown, so since the beginning of lockdown, many of us have been sat at home and we were taking like different courses and studying. So which new skills, if you have earned any, have you gained since the beginning of lockdown? Did you learn something new like cooking or anything like that?
I'll say I haven't learned any particular like new thing. Because I have so many different interests, I'll say that my interests that were in the back burner and I've shelved for a while became more in the forefront. So I like to cook. You mentioned cooking. I love to cook, but sometimes I don't have the time to do it. So while I'm here, I'm literally learning how to, or not how to, but yeah, I'm cooking new dishes, making new foods, cooking much more often. Buying, when I go to the grocery store, I like to buy a vegetable that I've never had before. I've never maybe seen before, but I've just never bought before. So I go pick it up and then like Google how to cook this vegetable or this fruit or how to eat this fruit. That's one thing. I did learn one new thing. I did learn how to make my own beard oil. And beard.
That's interesting.
Beard balm. It is interesting, yeah. I bought some shea butter, cocoa butter, all these things, and learned how to make my own thing because I like organic things. So
great. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so we're constantly hearing that our lives will change due to the pandemic and in the future, and they're changing at the moment. We hear that social distancing will probably be practicing often and for a long period of time. And theater, being a very large gathering of people, is likely to be shut for longer. So do you think that recordings of the theatrical productions and like some sort of live theaters that people can watch at home is a good solution to keep people interested in theater? Or do you think it's boring and people should still go to the theater to watch it all live?
I believe in the value of both, but there is nothing like going to the theater. There's absolutely nothing like going to the theater. Like I was saying even a moment ago, every day I get another chance to be better than yesterday. And like every performance, what I love so much about theater is that I would get on that stage and one, I'll try to be better than yesterday, but also what motivates me from doing the show every day, all the time. I've done 600 shows of Hamilton. Yeah. What motivates me is just like, I know that this gathering of people, both ensemble, cast, principal, and the audience included, will never be in the same space ever again. Okay. So we have to make this moment fresh and new for them. And that's something you cannot get anywhere. Movie theater sets, you can't do that anywhere. Once you record it once, it's like, that's how he did that thing. And it's not always that case. So there is absolute value in still going to theaters. Now, I do understand because of the COVID situation, perhaps that might be a good compromise for a short period of time, but it will never replace going to the live theater.
Okay, great. So let's imagine the situation that all theaters are shut for another 3 years. What will you do for a living, or like what will be your main area of job and work if you won't be able to perform on stage?
I don't believe that will have that scenario, but I'll play this, I'll answer the question. I'll say that I also love to teach, for example. I teach a lot of private voice lessons here in my studio, both piano and voice. I'm doing more voice these days, but I do like to teach, love to do that very much. I do a lot of masterclass things. I go to colleges, usually go to the colleges, but lately I've been doing a lot of things like this, where it would be Zoom or whatever other platform, and the students would perform for me and I would give my insight, but over the video. I also do different videos of performing still. I am doing something with Netflix, like a voice thing for some I don't know if it's going to be a cartoon. I don't know what it's going to be, honestly. So I can't even release anything because I don't know. But I'm singing something for a Netflix new kids show. There's like readings. Yeah. There's all types of arts. Like it'll never die. Like there'll still be things. You even look on YouTube and know that there are the Andrew Lloyd Webber has been releasing some of his things, but also there's been like the Sondheim concerts or all sorts of different concerts that are still happening. Even Saturday Night Live is still doing their show from home. Trevor Noah is doing it from home. So there's still a lot of things going on through the digital platform that we're all figuring out how to tap into.
All right, great. So those were all the questions from me. So let's move to the questions from the audience. People were writing the comments in the YouTube. So the first question, what was your favorite musical company in your whole life that you enjoyed the most being part of?
I would say my first favorite, I'll say my favorite besides Hamilton was probably Rent. I did Rent many years ago. And I think that was my first time where I really understood what it was, the difference between like my acting differences, the acting, it changed my life. But anyway, playing that role really changed my life and made me a much better actor. So Rent is my first favorite.
Great. Now the other question is about Broadway. Are you guarded there? How safe is the environment on Broadway and in the Hamilton company in particular?
I mean, we're not performing right now. So like it is as safe as anyone else, like we're all at home. Fortunately, my company wasn't hit so hard with the virus, but I do know several friends and other companies who were. So we're all taking care of each other. I know Hamilton Company, we have weekly meetings. We had a meeting yesterday with a producer who's amazing. Jeffrey Seller is one of the best producers I've ever worked under. but we have weekly meetings with Lynn and Tommy Gale and Alex, Lin-Manuel, like weekly meetings, and they're checking in on our mental health and making sure we're okay and keeping us updated about what the situation and all that. So, it's a great company to be a part of.
All right, great. So that's all for the questions. The last thing that I would like to ask you is there any particular set of advice that you would like to give to the young actor who is wanting to perform on Broadway or probably on screen? The most important thing.
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple things I'd say. One, do your craft, learn your craft, take the classes, all the stuff, because when you get to a certain point, everyone can sing. So that has to be that base level. You can sing, you can act and all that. So take those classes, work on your craft, but also work on other things. If you're interested in just theater, I encourage you to take an opera class or something like that as well. Like the last thing I did in my Hamilton audition was sing an Italian aria, because we had a conversation about it and we both knew we loved opera. So it makes you a better artist, but it also makes you a better, well-rounded person, being able to connect with people from different countries and understand those countries when you travel or something. I love to travel and experience that, but also be a good person, truly be a good person, because at the end of the day, if you can sing better than this other person, but you're terrible to work with, you will not work for long. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, then. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving your time today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. Great questions, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No problem. You take care of yourself and stay healthy, man.
Yeah. You too. Stay healthy. Right. Be safe.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed our Q&A session with Tamar Greene, a Broadway star. So I would just like to say that it's not my last live broadcast. Q&As, because of the pandemic and the lockdowns, will be going on for several times. And I will be trying to involve different people from different musicals and probably from different films as well, to make it interesting. So thank you so much for joining me today, and stay safe, be healthy, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much.